Back in 2017, our organization, Seabold Success Network, did a case study with one of our major corporate clients. We surveyed 20,000 of their active sales reps throughout the United States and Canada, and we asked them one question: are you addicted to the approval of other people? 98.5% of the people surveyed said, no, I don't care what people think about me, what I do, or my life. 98.5%. Now, I've been studying this topic for over 30 years, approval addiction, and the studies indicate across the board, worldwide, that almost 100% of the first world population is addicted to the approval of other people. And on the psychological severity scale of 1 to 7, 1 being least addicted, 7 being most addicted, the average person scores a 7 out of a 7. Okay, so how do you coach this with people? Because obviously this is what holds salespeople back. This is why I don't ask for the order after giving a presentation. This is why I don't approach someone that I'm attracted to and ask them out on a date or ask them for coffee or something like that. This is why we don't enter rejection situations, because we're addicted to the approval of other people. Okay, so how do you coach people? Because obviously this is completely debilitate. This is what wrecks baby entrepreneurs when they enter the entrepreneur space, because they get rejected. All of a sudden they're in rejection situations 24/7, and they're not used to it, and they're ill prepared psychologically for it and emotionally, and they quit. They go back to a job or whatever it is where it's safe, a psychological, where people are not rejecting you over and over, of course depending on the job, but for most jobs, where it's psychologically safe. Salespeople the same way. Anyone that goes out there and enters a heavy rejection environment that's addicted to approval will fail almost across the board. People sometimes push back in seminars and speeches I've given all over the world on this for 25 years, and they'll say, well, Steve, but here, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this woman who succeeded? Yes, statistical anomalies do exist. 1 out of a million do exist, of course, where people break through because for whatever reason, okay? But for the rest of us mere mortals, how do you coach someone if that's your charge? How do you coach someone or a team to overcome approval addiction? This is obviously not a one video kind of a process, but it is a process. I'll tell you where it begins, okay? Because it'd be too long of a video to watch here on this platform. But you start it this way, by telling people it's not your fault, but you're addicted. And I don't mean that to baby them in any way, or to give them an excuse. It really isn't their fault, because DNA-wise, we are programmed to get along with other people. Because back in the day, at least 200,000 years ago, when human beings started working in tribes and stuff, if you didn't have the approval of the tribe, you starved to death. They cast you out, literally, and you starved to death. So you had to get approval from people to survive. So we learned to do that, and obviously over evolution, it became part of our DNA. And so when we're little kids, we seek approval, because when we seek approval and we get approval, they give us what we want, almost in every situation. And it works for most people their entire lives, unless they enter a heavy rejection environment that they're not trained for. And people wonder why people fail. They're not used to it. They're not prepared. They're used to seeking approval, getting approval. But all of a sudden, they're getting rejected 99% of the time. They're not ready for that. They're going to quit. And so when people say, well, the turnover rate in sales is so high. Well, the turnover rate in network marketing is so high. The turnover rate in direct sales is so high, and on and on. Of course it's so high. It's always going to be high. Real estate, insurance. Of course it's so high. Why? It's not because of the business. It's not because of the product. It's not because of the service. It's because of the disease called approval addiction. The first thing you have to do, in my opinion, in terms of coaching people, I've done this for a lot of years, is make people understand it's really not their fault. It's built into their DNA. Now, can they overcome it? Yes. It's a process. It takes time. It's not that easy, but it is doable to at least reduce. Sorry about the train. Train comes by the mansion 17 times a day. We love it, but it's a little loud sometimes. But there he is. There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. When they go by intersections, they have to honk. That's the law. So just to wrap this up, to start with, make them aware it's not their fault, okay? And it can be overcome or severely reduced. Okay, so if 7 is severe on the psychological scale, which it is, and 1 is not addicted at all, if you can get someone to a 3, they'll succeed in a heavy rejection environment. If not, almost for certain, they will fail. It's almost completely predictable. I've been doing turnarounds with corporations for 23 years before COVID of corporate turnarounds, very large sales organizations around the world. And this is one of the first things we tested for, and one of the first things we coached. Who on this team is addicted to approval, and if so, to what severity level? That's what you want to do. Do an assessment, basically walk them through why they're addicted, and it's not their fault, and there is a process and there is a solution. That's where you start.